Good evening, everybody. It is Memorial Day at about 8:50 on the East Coast, and welcome to episode 5 of the Wheels and Shaky Podcast. For those of you looking at us on YouTube, you will notice that Wheels is not present. Today, due to illness, playing the part of Wheels is the lovely and talented Mrs. Shaky. We shall refer to her as Allison because that's, her name. So we'll go with that. Mrs. Shaky is very capable of filling in and has how many years? I have a lot of years helping, being really the number, being one of the primary caregivers for Wheels. I'll just give you the real quick rundown on things before. First, our usual, while we like to laugh at ourselves, our little disclaimer deal. While we like to laugh at ourselves and the messed up situations we find ourselves in because of certain symptoms that we deal with, we're not laughing at the diseases. We simply are using laughter to deal with what we have, and laughter is really our best medicine. So here we go. So today we decided to stick with the topic that we were planning on anyway. Episode 5, to pee or not to pee. It is the adventures that can be a public restroom, either for the person that is in the chair, so for Wheels, and or the person who is assisting Wheels in and out of said bathroom. We're going to have story time with Shaky. Will be coming will be forthcoming, and of course, like I said, filling in for Wheels today is Mrs. Shaky. Say hello to the nice people, Mrs. Shaky.
Hello, everyone.
You don't remember the hello to the nice people thing.
Hello to the nice people out there.
Thank you for playing along. Don't you remember the old George Burns show? Say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. So everybody under 45 will not get that reference. So just a real quick rundown, just to fill everybody in. I'm a little bit limited on what I want to say with Wheels. Not because things are bad. Actually, in the last couple of days, she has made some very big improvements and should be back next week, or should be back by the time we episode 6 or maybe episode 5.5 if we decide to revisit this with her. As for those of you who heard episode 4, you would recall, I'm sure you would remember, that she was broadcasting episode 4 from an inpatient physical rehab clinic. There were some complications that popped up, and she had to return to a hospital room for a while. Tomorrow, the schedule for her, without giving away, too much information or violating any HIPAA violations, I hope, which I should know because, I wrote code for them years ago. She should be back in the inpatient rehab tomorrow. And beyond that, I will let her sort of tell her story around everything that's happened with her in the last few weeks. It's really her story to tell. So I will let her do that in the next episode, and I will simply, inject my snarky little silly clown show comments because that's, how I roll. And I also owe an apology to Wheels up front because she's going to see this on YouTube and realize that the little words that are behind my head that usually relate to the episode we're doing, that's kind of her department. I didn't do it, and quite honestly, I'm just not going to. That's her deal. So episode 5 is the public restroom nightmares, the public restroom adventures, and when they're nightmares or they're adventures or whatever, they're always funny to talk about later. If anybody's ever read the book Ghost Rider by Neil Peart, the drummer, the now deceased drummer from Rush, he wrote an amazing book called Ghost Rider, Life on the Healing Road. And one of the lines in there that always sticks with me is that adventures suck when you're having them. Well, bathroom adventures are especially that. So I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Shaky for a minute. And what I would like from you, Allison, is the rundown. When you and Wheels hit a public place, be it a restaurant, a shopping mall, whatever, what are you looking for? What are you looking for in an ideal bathroom situation?
Well, first off, I think one of the things we're always looking for is the ease of getting into the bathroom so that you can go to the bathroom and do your business. So whenever I would take Amy in there, it's how cramped is it? Are the stalls narrow? Is it a big enough stall for her to get into? Where is the positioning of the handles? That is a big one.
Right on.
It's yeah, we've had many bathroom situations where you go in and we just have to do the best that we can. I just go off of what she has, the positioning and everything of what we need to do to get her into the bathroom so she can do her business.
Okay, a couple things here. Number one, we got to stop calling it business because it sounds like we're talking about the dog going in the backyard, which would be funny if she was just wheeling herself out into the backyard and popping a squat out there. That's a whole nother deal. But I also think, I think the one thing, look, this is kind of there's a world of jokes and things to be made here about around bathroom humor, of course. But when she's doing her business, it's not just
when she's going to the bathroom.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking more in terms of the logistics, of things. Here's my deal. Here's my deal on this whole thing. This podcast idea sort of started from a trip that Wheels and I were on. So Wheels and I, as I think we've discussed, Wheels and I have a sports history, and we started going to see games. Last year at the NFL Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, there were 3 Chicago Bears being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we decided we wanted to go to the game. We went, and while moving around the stadium in Canton, she made the comment, "Hey, the accessibility here is pretty good." A couple weeks later, and there's a whole slew of stories around that. I think we've told the restaurant story and that whole thing. See previous episodes for those things. Then we went to a game at Pittsburgh at the Steelers. We went to go see the Steelers play, and accessibility there honestly was not great. Hey Pittsburgh Steelers, get your act together for people in wheelchairs, seriously, because your stadium needs some help. And then that was a Saturday. The next day we were still hanging around Pittsburgh and we had time. So we ended up getting tickets to a Pirates game because they were home, and just, serendipity. Here we are at a Pirates game. And I think, is that still PNC Park? I don't know what their sponsorship, but the Pirates home park, fantastic. Really, really good accessibility. They could use an elevator. They could use a couple more elevators, but elevators, that's another episode. From a bathroom standpoint, really good. So here's the dream scenario. You're in a place for a stadium, or anywhere else for that matter, but stadium specific. We'll make it a little stadium specific. They have their internal, disability parking, but inside for your wheelchairs. And usually the seating is pretty good, which is nice, especially if you're the companion that comes along with it. You get a good seat to sit with your buddy. And then hopefully not too far away, down a ramp and around a corner, down the street and around a corner, is a family restroom. Is a family restroom. A place for a nice big wide door. You can go in. Yeah, there's probably a changing table in there for the people with babies and that kind of stuff. But there's good handles and there's room to manipulate. If a person is having dysfunctional legs, wheels, you can help and lift and shift and get her, onto the can. So, well, right. And you've done this.
Yes. Yeah.
Handles for her are helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you get the nightmare of all nightmares in my particular case. So, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now segue ourselves into story time with Shaky. Gather around, kids. I have an anecdote. This is a true story. So Wheels, besides being a sports junkie, always wanted to go on a safari. She's big into animals, big wild animals and everything. But because of the nature of her physical limitations, physically, heading off to the Serengeti anytime soon is not really realistic. But we found a place in Ohio, not far from Canton, called the Wilds. Special note for you folks at the Wilds. As much as I said Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium was bad, you guys really need to get your act together. Put a family restroom in the place, for heaven's sake. It is, you got a lot of kids there. You got a lot of folks, put a family restroom in, please, because when it is, this is so awkward. So Wheels and I are by ourselves on this trip. And in the main building of the Wilds. So the Wilds, just to give you the real quick rundown, the Wilds is a big animal sanctuary. They have rhinoceros and giraffes and all kinds of, big jungle, big type safari animals. You can stay in a yurt. You can stay in a little bit, it's outside of the bathroom situation. It's actually a very cool place. But the bathroom situation is that they have absolutely zero family restrooms or handicapped accessible restrooms in the main buildings. All they have is men. Here's the men's room. Here's the women's room, and in each bathroom they have the handicap stall, which of course they bury at the very the door you walk in to the bathroom could not be further away from the handicap stall. So imagine my surprise when Wheels, gives me the tap on the hand over the wheel of the back of the wheel. Hey, I'm going to have to, hit that bathroom before we get on the bumpy truck that's going to take us around the pseudo jungle. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go find the family bathroom. And they don't have one. So we find an employee and we say, hey, listen, where can we take her that's suitable? And they said, well, there's a handicap stall in the bathroom right over there. It's great. Are you going to take her in there? Miss Employee? And she goes, no. She goes, well, I'll go in first and I'll just clear the way for you to push her in. You being me. So here I am now, creepy weirdo guy, and creepy. Here I am pushing Wheels in her wheelchair from the door all the way down to the opposite end of this bathroom, which in my brain now, because I'm just so psychologically freaked out by this, is like the freaking Jericho Mile. I have to run the Chicago Marathon pushing a wheelchair with this woman in it who has to pee all the way down in there, all the way down to the handicap stall. Get her in there, which by the way, which is also nowhere near large enough. And the handle placement just sucks. Get her in position to where she can, pop on the toilet. And yes, look, for those of you asking the question, yes, there's some medically necessary exposure here. If you find that somehow or another, if you're offended by the idea that somehow or another I'm occasionally having to, catch a glimpse of something that I don't necessarily want to, or she doesn't necessarily want me to see, well, welcome to Caregiver 101. This is what's going to happen. So for those of you who potentially are seeking out the career of caregiver, prepare yourself for weird, just nonsensical shit like this, because there's too many places out there that just don't have their act together when it comes to a bathroom for this. So here I am, and I'm literally, as I'm pushing her down I'm like, I'm not looking. Don't worry, ladies, I'm not looking. I'm sorry. I'm not a creep. I'm a caregiver. I'm just being helpful. So this happens, which is primarily one of the other reasons why I really hate to travel without Mrs. Shaky, because Mrs. Shaky obviously doesn't have the same issues with this. I could have taken her into the. I probably should have taken her into the men's room. That would have been better for me. And
But creepy for her.
well, right. Well, that's the thing. Obviously, then it's creepy. Yeah, but I think it's a different creepy because there's such a weird standard of
Yeah.
there's such
Yeah,
a weird.
it
Standard.
is.
Hey, dudes. Hey, dudes. I'm gonna roll in. I'm rolling this woman down through the men's room here, down to the end of the and it's basically the same layout except you don't have a whole bunch of stalls. You got a couple urinals and then only a couple stalls. But fine. We get in there and so the woman that was running blocker for me, she's I'm trying to think of who's like the world's most like the greatest lineman ever. She's given me the Olin Kreutz. Olin Kreutz was a center for the Bears for many years, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. He's not. She's given me the Olin Kreutz run down the thing. Like she's running blocker for me. I'm pushing Amy, and I'm pushing behind her. I'm running behind this blocker like I'm Walter Payton carrying a football down to the end and get her in there. And once I get in, doors close and everything's fine. Well, then she leaves. This woman leaves. And just abandons us there, like we're on now all of a sudden I'm on a desert island. I'm on a desert island with a whole bunch of women on the other side of the fence. She's like, what's going on back there? I hear a man's voice. There's a man's voice, and and look, getting her on the John, getting her on the throne, and letting her do everything she's got to do, and then getting her all buttoned up and put back together and back into the wheels is not a fast process. So the population of people that are outside that door in the bathroom has turned over. Now there's new women in there that weren't there before that literally have no idea that there's a man in the bathroom. This is problematic for me. It's the reality of things, so I deal with it. But this is.
Well, and for those women who don't understand the whole caregiving thing, it's creepy for them, and you have to go through and explain to them.
Yeah, it kind of makes you feel like a bit of an asswipe, which I chose that word appropriately for the bathroom. So, yeah, see what I did there. Anyway, so now she finishes up, get her all buttoned up back in the thing, and she's in the chair. Now I'm like, okay. We got to open the door, and I got to make the mad dash. I got to run the Jericho mile back the other way to get to the door. And I'm literally just like, I'm not a creep. I'm a caregiver. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was yelling to these women before I even opened the door. I'm like, all right, listen, there is a man in the house of women. I'm not a weirdo. I'm not a creep. At least not for this situation. I've been accused of these things in other places, but not because of this. So here we go. Open the door, and 3, 2, 1, go. And I'm out of there like a rocket. I'm one of those. I'm one of those launch coasters that just takes right off. Gone. And I'm trying to get her out. I'm trying to get out of there as fast as possible. We get out of there. And get back out and get out into the main building again. And I looked there. I said, "Please don't ever make me do that again." Which, by the way, which is completely unfair to her, by the way, because there's going to be some situation where she's going to, where that may very well have to happen again. What am I supposed to do? Tell her no, hold it. Put a cork in it. Yeah, no, gross. This is so bad. But yeah, so for those of you at the Wild, and yes, I'm plugging your place because it was actually a really cool experience. Outside of the bathroom problem, fix the bathroom problem. Put a family bathroom in there. All right, please. Thus concludes story time with Shaky. So. Mrs. Shaky has been here just kind of laughing in the background. I want to get back into her time, and then we're going to wrap up. We're going to not do the super long episode anyway. What do you so I asked you before, what do you look for what do you want? What I mean, and I know this is like from a caregiver standpoint, not so much. Obviously, you want things to be as best they can for Amy, for Wheels for Amy. You want things to be as easy as they can be for her, thus making things as easy as they can be for you. What is that you're looking for?
Oh, good question. Ease of getting someone with a wheelchair into the bathroom. We have come into some washrooms where it's narrow. You try and get in, and you have to maneuver the wheelchair around a corner and around yet another corner just to get to the stalls themselves. Just something simple to be able to get in.
Yeah. No, I was well. So okay.
Yeah.
So while I'm doing this. I'm doing this. For those of you watching, yes, Mrs. Shaky and I are in the same room. She just has a different background. I'm doing this. This is the button. Where are the automatic doors?
Yes, yes,
doors.
yes.
Shouldn't be that hard to do.
It shouldn't. Automatic door. Yeah, automatic doors would be great. Not have so many corners to turn to get in. It would be nice to have a stall that's closer to the door.
Thank you.
Yes, so you're not having to go all the way down, because what happens if there's a line of people? Then you're having to get through that line of people, and it makes it even harder.
Could you imagine if there's a line of people like that at a place like the Wilds, and I'm the one pushing her through there?
Oh yeah,
that's like running the gauntlet. All of a sudden, I'm Nicolas Cage in National Treasure, and I'm hunting for the gold that is the toilet. This is the toilet I can get the woman on.
Yes,
it's just what a nightmare. And of course, then after all of this, and I'm going to we'll let Wheels speak to this in the next episode. Of course, all of this, if anybody knows Wheels the way that we do, and if you listen to some episodes, you can hear it right away. You can hear it pretty quick. The last thing she wants to do is create challenges for other people. I think it's safe for me to say she doesn't like the fact that she has to ask other people for help. As a matter of fact, go back to episode 2 or 3. The help is a 4-letter word, and listen to that. Listen to how much she hates asking for help. There's no bigger ask than some of this, and she's just, oh man, I can't believe I got to ask you to do this. And then you get into that running the gauntlet of people and doors and handle and bad handles. Look, I laugh. I try to laugh my way through it because it's it actually, now here it is, later on, whatever, the 6-8 months later, this is funny, but at the time, it was not easy. So automatic doors. So what are we looking for? We're looking for automatic doors. What else are we looking for?
The ease of the bars and the positioning of the bars, because that's one thing that she always looks for is how convenient is it for her to be able to utilize those bars? How are they positioned? Because she also looks for, how do you grab them to use for leverage to get up?
Yep.
If they're just the bars that are down here, well, it's not really helping. If you get a bar that's up higher, it helps for her to be able to pull, like especially if you have to get on the one side to help her up, that bar she can pull, and it helps propel her up.
Here's something else. Now look, she gave us a list of things, and again we're going to revisit this in the next episode. But how about things that are also reachable? In this particular, she and reachable and hands-free dispensing.
Yes, the hand soap.
The hand soap.
Yes. Towels.
Or even like the hands-free flushing.
Yes.
So auto flush. These are things. These are things that I think get taken for granted by folks who, can do all these things without any issues at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I think I've seen Wheels get frustrated with some of these things, and as I'm sure you have.
Oh yes, yes.
Where it's, I hate this. This sucks. This is, Wheels is not a swearing. She's not a swear word person, but I have heard a few. I've heard a few four-letter, a few f bombs here and there. Not really f bombs. She doesn't like that one, but I've heard a couple of the shits come out of her, literally. Uh, thank you very much. That was perfect. Yes, I'm just gonna,
Toilet humor.
Yeah, well, hey, every now and again I hit one. But I've heard her use the word a couple of times because the towels are up here. The towels are at the level that a person, even of your mighty stature of 5 feet and 0, and they're at eye level for you. Well, she's in a chair. So what happens when you have weak arms and you have to stick them and you have to lean them, put them way up high like this to try to get a towel out. You have no strength here, so you have no strength. You have no leverage. And by the way, you're sitting in a chair with wheels. You got to apply the brakes. So what are you going to do? Like apply the brakes and have to do this. It's a nightmare. It's a very nightmarish scenario for her. And again, I think we're going to do episode 5.5 because we're going to revisit some of this with her input. But we wanted to do this. So what else? So we wanted to do this to generate some content. It's been a while, and we knew we wanted to get Mrs. Shaky on the air at some point. Anyway, so what else? So we got the door. We got automatic doors. I'm looking through the list here. We got automatic doors. Vertical. She likes the vertical handles and something with a little grip on it too.
Yes.
Right.
I believe so.
And then she's got something here, and handles over the back of the toilet like a towel bar.
Oh, I'm not.
I think in terms of so she can maybe grab it and twist or something.
That could be.
But yeah, height is always a thing. Oh, the other thing too is the way the supply pipeline, the way the water supply pipes go into the sink. Because she'll roll her wheelchair under the sink and she'll start bumping her knees against the water lines. That's always that. Yeah.
Yes.
So she's got a couple things in here that we will revisit. So here's a preview for the next episode. We're going to talk about towel dispensers, specifically that her daughter, little Wheels, has to deal with. We got. I don't know, if we should name the kids like Little Wheels, Medium Wheels, and Big Wheels. I don't know. That's really up to them. Then she's got another one here with size and maneuvering with Michigan with her boys. Oh, here's one in reference to you. Do you remember what she said about the direction the doors open? Because this is a Delaware. She actually put in a Delaware reference with Mrs. Shaky, is in her note. So when we brought the first time we came, so very quickly, the very first time Mrs. Shaky and I came to Delaware to kind of scout things out before we moved out here, we brought Wheels with us, and Wheels was super impressed with how Delaware, with generally speaking, how accessibility in Delaware is set up. But she has a note here: direction the door opens in Delaware with Mrs. Shaky. Do you remember an episode? Do you remember a particular thing?
I'm trying to remember about that one. And is that where I'm trying to remember if she likes the door where it opens out instead of in? Or is it in?
We'll have to ask her, but I'm thinking in I would think makes the most sense because maybe you can just push your way through if there's a kick plate on the door.
Yes, that could be.
Right.
That could be. Because yes, if it's opening outward, then yeah, that gets to be a little bit of a challenge, especially if you don't have the strength in the arms.
Well, here's the problem though. Mm-hmm. At some point, if it's a bathroom, if you're going in the bathroom mm-hmm. and you're coming out of the bathroom from the same door, which is typically the case, mm-hmm. you're fighting that battle one way or the other.
Yes.
I mean, it's not sometimes if you go to a ball game, you go to the ball game and you got a really big bathroom, you go in one door You have like you actually have an entrance door. You go in and you have an exit door. Now you can, now you can set the doors to push in on the entrance, push out on the exit. Fine, but that's rare. That's rare.
It is.
So she did. She did give us a real quick list of public. This is Amy's public restrooms award. This is they get the Wheels Award, the most likely public restrooms award, most likely to be available. Walgreens, because man, there's a Walgreens everywhere. You can't swing a dead cat around here and not hit a Walgreens. That's a bad reference. So, most reliable to exist, Target, and this is true. Wheels loves the Target restrooms, and Target always, Target typically has a really good family restroom, so that's good. Easiest to find is IKEA. I'm not sure why I've never been in an IKEA. Somebody would have to, I'd have to be being held prisoner to get into an IKEA. The whole idea of it's like making furniture out of Legos. I have no interest in an IKEA. Most difficult to find, SeaTac. This would be the Pittsburgh SeaTac. I'm not sure why she called it SeaTac, but this is the Pittsburgh airport, which also ties into our little story to the beginning of this. We looked all over the place. Somebody said, "Oh, there's a family restroom. There's a accessible restroom just down that way." Well, it wasn't just down that way. It was way the hell down that way. I mean, I don't know how this translates to things. It's kind of like when mom says, put a pinch of garlic in and a handful of onion and those things where there's no real measurement. Well, there's no real measurement in the world of, oh, it's just down that way. It's just down over there versus it's way the hell down there, especially when you get into an airport because there's just so much ground to cover. And then it doesn't help that they hide the door and you walk right past it. Just, once we found it, it was fine. But, she has a most disgusting experience that I wasn't there for. You weren't there for. I can't speak to that. We'll let her have that one. And least accessible. Highway in West Virginia. Do you remember this? This was us coming home from Delaware, driving through West Virginia. And I think we just pulled off onto one of the rest areas.
Maybe.
But it's West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. So here's the deal, and we'll wrap this. I'm going to wrap this up. So here's the deal. There is no like national ADA standard. Disability standards are really kind of set state to state. In some cases, like county to county or city to city. There's no standard. There's no across the board thing, and I don't want to get into a whole argument about politics, about national centralized national control versus state control and blah 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 blah. But everybody, we can do better. This is one of those do better things that really is a legit do better. Pittsburgh Steelers do better. The Wilds do better. Certain states, West Virginia in general, do better. There's people in wheelchairs, people with crutches, people with canes. They have weakness in their arms. They have trouble moving around that need assistance. And sometimes they don't have the assistance. Sometimes sometimes it's somebody that ended up independently for a few minutes. They ended up in a situation independent. And they need that. They need as much cooperation from the physical apparatus as they can get. Think about one of the worst case scenarios. Somebody like and not to I don't want to make her feel bad about her situation, but Wheels is pretty, when you start talking about navigating public, Wheels is pretty far out there. And I don't, she'll probably get mad at me. I know she'll get mad at me for saying it, but it's true. Wheels is pretty much one-on-one 24/7, well, not 24/7, but she's pretty much one-on-one assist every time she leaves the house. She's got somebody with her. You are, I am, one of the kids, wherever. So she's always got a caregiver. She's always got
Yeah.
she's always got somebody, be it somebody who actually is good at this and knows what they're doing, like you, or some just dopey trained monkey like me. Either way, that's all it is. That's all I really am anyway. So think about that. Think about that situation, and make sure you have something to accommodate that. Guy don't a especially woman in wheelchair, male trained monkey with her who's got to move, who's got to navigate a bathroom, some kind of bathroom situation. Think about that. Put yourself in those shoes, or put yourself in that wheelchair. Really, if you really want to do it, put yourself in that wheelchair, or put yourself in the situation where you're pushing the wheelchair, and you're the one that's doing the lift and shift, and doing the you're doing the lift and shift onto the toilet. Then you're doing the no pants dance to get her off the toilet. And I don't mean the dirty way of no pants dance. I mean, you just got to get her up off the toilet and get the pants back up around her ass. And yeah, it's a little dancey sometimes. But it's and yes, we do have a tendency to just laugh our way all the way through this. Be better for those of you who maybe are in control of a physical plant, are the people that design these things. It's something that's really going forward, but we do need to make it retroactive too. Go and do a better job of this.
Talk to the people who have the limitations and see what they're needing by way of when they use a public restroom. They are the ones who have I don't know how else to say it. They've become experts at this because they have to navigate it so much.
Yep.
They really do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's we're going to wrap it up. I think that pretty much covers what we wanted. We will revisit this when Wheels is back. Hopefully that will be before the end of this week. I think we'll probably have another episode where she will be broadcasting from the rehab facility. We got her some headphones and a microphone on it, so the sound quality should be much improved for that, which would be great. And just the usual, and so to hear just the usual bits. You know where to find. If you don't know where to find us, hit us up at wheelsandshaky.com or shaky at wheelsandshaky.com. Wheelsandshaky.com website is now up and running. It's still under construction a little bit to make it look a little prettier, but it is out there. It's there. There's links you can click on to find the podcast. There's links you can click on to contact us. Please like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe, download, do all that stuff. Give us all the good stuff to let us know that you're listening, that you like it, that you enjoy it. Comments are welcome. Suggestions for products, suggestions for topics are also very welcome. We are actively, kind of actively. We're not exactly sure where to start on some of these, but we are actively looking for some sponsorships as well. If you have a product that you think somebody in the disabled, differently abled, whatever word we're going to use for it, community would benefit from, and you would like us to talk about it, you would like us to look at it and give you our honest opinion, we would love that. We will, just to be clear, we don't really have a price tag on this. If you send us a product and it sucks, we're going to say it sucks. And if you send us a whole boatload of money to sponsor the program with your product that sucks, we're probably going to send you your money back and still tell you the product sucks. Sorry. There are certain things in my world that I can be bought. This I don't think is one of them. But then again, who knows? Maybe if the check's big enough. Yeah, let's see. I know, terrible. But again, please like and subscribe. Find us on Apple. We're on Spotify. We are on Amazon. We are on Podcast Addict. I think I got us on to now, and a few other spots. If you have heard this on YouTube, or if you have a place that you would like us to try to get the podcast added to, please let us know. Once again, like, subscribe, and everybody, just for the sake of argument, I'm not gonna say go pray, but go pray, go positive juju, a little bit of positive vibes, good thoughts, whatever your particular choice of positivity and hopefulness is. Bounce some of those things over in Wheels' direction. She's had a rough couple of weeks. She does by all accounts from the last little bit of information I got is on a good road back to health and back to recovery. She's going to be in the rehab physical rehab for a bit. But the one thing I will say, because I talked to her today earlier, she is the same positive, hopeful, just unbelievable badass, human being that she is. She's a super podcast partner. She's a super friend. Mrs. Shaky and I both, just love her dearly. She is a absolute wonderful human being and a great inspiration. And she will be back in her full-on badassery by the next broadcast.
Good.
Right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say before we sign off there, lady?
Thank you for inviting me to be on.
You'll be back.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll be back.
Yeah. But I'm happy to contribute any information that I have that I'm always happy to add.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you are just your caregiving experience, and not just with Amy but with others as well, is something that we're going to tap into for future episodes. That's on the list.
Awesome.
So great. Thanks everybody. Wheelsandshaky.com. Wheels at wheelsandshaky.com. Shaky at wheelsandshaky.com. Contact us, like us, give us the thumbs up and the subscribes and the things and the stuff and that. Be well, everybody. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. We will talk to you later. We're out. Later.